I gained 2,200 followers in 6 weeks as a cosplayer. My skills are not above average. Half the stuff I've ever made has broken, chipped, or completely gone away from my expectations, but nonetheless, I've been able to get this following. I thought it would take me an entire year to have a project worth showing, let alone actually having a following to show up for it. But during this time, I've gotten to 1,036 Instagram followers and 600 and 600 on YouTube and TikTok respectively. Before you go, I'm not gonna sell you a course, but if you don't want to stay here and you just want the meat and bones of it, the one piece of advice I have for you is give your content the actual chance to be alive. I'll be going more in depth with what I did, how I struggled, what you can do right now, but if you just want to know the one thing that actually works, it's giving the stuff that you care about and that you film the chance to actually excite other people. Do not rob them of the ability to get excited for your projects, let them make up their mind. Anyone else that's here, I have really specific, really exciting stuff to talk to you about. Why is it exciting? Because in 6 weeks, I went from 0 followers to 2,200 followers. I have people that have recognized me, and I know that's a vanity metric, but I have had 6 people in public call me by name to talk about my project. I know that's kind of like, oh, whatever, dude, the fame is getting to your head, switch up on your day ones. No, it is less so that the fame is getting to my head and more so, wow, people actually care about the stuff that I'm working on. That's super exciting. Why wouldn't you want that? My life has not completely changed from 2,200 followers, but just to give you an idea, during this span of time of 6 weeks, mind you, a month and a half, I have people checking up on me, supporting my project, who can actually peer review my work. I didn't have a place to get advice before, but now I have people that actually are more knowledgeable than I am giving me advice. Having a huge following is great and all, but like ultimately, just having the ability to now talk to people that know more than me is huge. And I think if you've been nervous about posting, that should be the #1 reason you're getting into it. Not because you're going to become internet famous, but because you're going to meet like-minded people. But what did I do at the beginning of this, and what would I have done differently? I'm going to try to break this down into very actionable steps so that you can see during this process where my head kind of was. The thing that inspired me to finally start posting to social media was the big project that I have in mind, the Gundam Aerial. The first video I made got 10,000 views, and after we can talk about how I got dwindling views. I got like 20 views on a bunch of videos, but eventually this did come up to 10, 20, 40,000 views consistently. By starting with one main project, I gave people something to identify my face with. Hey, he's the Gundam Aerial guy. I know that's kind of silly, and eventually I will do more. It's just the thing that got the ball rolling. So if you're nervous, just do something. When I posted the video talking about these plans, I was excited because it got the attention of a few big people. They shared it around, they reposted, but after that, it kind of died down. And for the first 2 or 3 weeks when I started posting on my socials, it was just all Gundam Aerial, Gundam Aerial, Gundam Aerial. You can probably reliably go to my first 12 posts and the opening line will be, I'm building this 6-foot-tall robot, because I didn't know what to talk about except, oh, I'm making this huge thing. Now, at this stage, I had a very hard time discerning what would do good and what would not do good. And ultimately, the thing that pushed my content forward was that I got bored of my own project. I got bored of talking about the aerial because I'm a human being that has other interests, that wants to do other things. I can recall very specifically what it was that I actually did to get the ball rolling again. I took like 2 hours to myself and hey, I wanted to talk about like 4 or 5 different things. I wanted to talk about a standing chamber, which now went viral. I wanted to talk about ultra kill, which now went viral. I wanted to talk about how much cosplay making sucks. I wanted to talk about how my lungs hurt all the time because my PPE had expired. And when I finally did that, it actually popped off. It took me drilling into my own head that, oh, I'm making the aerial, oh, I'm making the aerial, to finally get to the point where it's like, I don't want to talk about the robot. I love the robot. I don't want to talk about her all the time. And that's when it finally did good. But that's not to say it's without its difficulties. The whole thing with my aerial project is that I was modeling it myself. That can be different for you. That can be that you're handcrafting something, that you're hand sewing something, God forbid. But truthfully, I would tell you that that is the only difficulty I've run into with making content. Now, it would be dishonest of me to say that this is my first experience making videos. Professionally, I work as a videographer and as an editor. I do have experience with making stuff, and although I only make silly stuff for myself, that does give me an advantage. But if you look at my top 3 or 5 hits, all of them have only had 2 to 3 cuts, something that you can do with infinite ease. Truthfully, during this entire process, the only speed bumps that I've run into are crafting related and self-doubt related. And for self-doubt, I can only tell you that you have to give yourself the chance. Even if it's not for you, do it for everyone else that actually wants to watch what you're doing. A lot of the time, I would have just not posted or would have not created anything because honestly, it is so annoying to set up a camera when I just want to go work on my thing. When I'm thinking that, oh, I have to do 3 passes of sanding today or my helmet's gonna look kind of crap, I don't want to record that. That's infuriating. That is like, oh, dude, I can't move my left foot without asking for permission from my right foot. That is frustrating, yes. But if you want to do well in this, that's just kind of what it takes. And bringing it back to that walking example, if your right leg says, no, left leg, you can't move, I'm going to do all the moving, and you're either just crafting or just doing videos, you're not going to get far. I remember that there was a point where I started to stagnate because I had to 3D model parts. I've been doing about 1 part a week, but it got to the point where I was modeling the Ariel's leg. It is extremely complicated, especially since I was doing it in Fusion at the time. I've now switched over to Blender. It got to the point where for 2 or 3 weeks, I was just focused on how do I make this, how do I make this, how do I make this, and my brain just did not work for that. I had to start working on other stuff because ultimately, when I hit a wall and I tried forcing myself through it, it just meant that I was taking away the energy from all the good that I could be doing in the moment. Thankfully, now I've gotten to the point where, like, yeah, that does exist. That is a 3D model that I have. I can move on to the rest of the process. But if you stop yourself at every minor inconvenience, you're not going to get very far. Moving on to the more actionable stuff, what can you actually make for content? The answer is anything and nothing at the same time, because ultimately it's going to be very individualistic. To give you a very dire example, I bought a $630 printer to do a review on it. You want to know who doesn't like doing review videos now after I spent $630? This guy. This guy. Now, thankfully, that is a tool that I'm going to use, but you have to experiment with what it is that you actually like doing. Personally, I find it extremely easy to set up a camera in one angle and cut 2 times in a video while having some funny caption over it. It's relatable, people enjoy it, it gets me a ton of views. That was super fun. But I also like talking about this stuff. I also like to yap. I also like talking about my process. That means that I have to plan out concepts for what I'm going to talk about. That means that I then have to direct myself, because if you let me talk, I'm going to start talking about the moon for some reason when we started talking about sandpaper, which in other words means direct where your passions are going. If you are passionate about something, focus on that passion because that's what you are going to do best in. Do not try to suffocate yourself by doing, oh, I need to do this kind of content in order to be successful. If I don't make this kind of video, then no matter what I do, then it's going to be bad. That is nonsense, that is silly, that is dumb. Do not force yourself into that cage that you don't even want to be in. Do what you're good at and then direct that. For me, this looks like I like to yap. I'm going to give myself 3 bullet points and then I'm going to riff on each one and then I'm going to edit them after the fact so that it actually looks like a coherent speech. If you knew how much I talked during all of this and how much of it doesn't make it into this video, right now you can look at the timestamp. It has taken me 47 minutes so far to get to this point where I'm talking to you. Regardless of how long the actual video is, I want you to know that there's a lot of work that goes into this. For some people who like to do large explainer videos and really get in depth, yeah, you're gonna have the short end of the stick because you're going to need to do a lot more work. That doesn't mean that your content's gonna do bad, but you're going to have to invest a lot more work. Oftentimes I'm disappointed when it takes me an hour of sitting down talking and then 4 hours of editing and then I only get a few hundred views. Where sometimes I'll take 20 minutes to film a video, it'll be 3 cuts with a caption, and it will outperform any of the videos that I have made with long form content all put together. That's not an overstatement. I've gotten 50,000 views on a video that I didn't even have to film because the stuff was just screen recorded on my computer, and I have less than 5,000 collective views on all of my videos on YouTube, except for the shorts. Once you've identified what it is you actually want to do, look at the people that are already doing that. And my piece of advice to you is don't copy any one person. I used to have this issue when I was 14 to 16 years old when I started making YouTube videos, where I would make my speaking personality for the week the personality of whoever I was currently watching. And you could tell each time because I wasn't being myself. So what I would say for you is avoid that mistake. Look at what you want to do, look at what the people in your area are doing, but don't just copy from any one person. If you take a very watchful eye to my content, you will find that it is not very original. You will find, however, that it has 20 different sources and none of them are from one person. What I'm doing is not something that has never been seen before and completely abstract. What has helped me with this inspiration method is vetting the videos. If a video related to car washing does 1 million views by doing the little thing where they buff the car so well that it looks like a mirror, if I do that with a cosplay helmet, it's probably gonna get me at least 10,000 or more. But at the very least, you know that that kind of video has the potential to grow. You can make whatever kind of video you want, but if you are trying to get specifically more views, see what gets views, try to replicate that into your own thing. But moving on to our last subject, what I'm planning on doing now is more of the same. I'm going to keep trying and just throwing stuff out there and waiting to be pleasantly surprised. I have realized that if you attach an expectation to these things, you are bound to feel pretty upset. As much as I could say that I wish this would do good or I wish that would do good, ultimately I have been wrong every time, not in necessarily how many views my good videos will do, but in the ones that I just kind of make on a whim. Sometimes the thing that I threw in last moment that I wasn't even going to post, even if it doesn't do well, will get me people with hundreds of thousands of followers to follow me. I am now being followed by the same Gundam creators that I was looking up to during all of this, and although I can't say whether or not they enjoy my content, they at least saw it because I put it out there. I now have connections to the people that I once admired, that I still admire. Ultimately, I'm going to keep doing more of the same, but I'm going to be more random with it. I'm not going to harp on one specific project until it goes according to plan or until this is all people know me for, because that's not what I want to do as a human being. What I want to do is show people the stuff that gets me excited and gives me reason to keep going. And so if I were to limit myself to stuff that I'm just grinding out, then what's the exciting part about that? That's no excuse not to be consistent with the work you do, but ultimately, if your heart isn't in something, people are going to be able to tell. I get my most excited when I know someone else is excited about this. I personally would have probably already quit on my Gundam project. I personally would have stopped learning Blender and moved on to my next little hobby, infatuation, whatever it is, if I didn't have these people to keep me consistent that are excited with me. What's made this all easier isn't necessarily that I have people there cheering me on all the time, but more so that I have people there that are now as excited as I was on day one. These people are now looking forward to the end of a project that I promised. I can't let them down. And it's so much easier to push when you don't want to, when you know that there are at least 1 or 2 people that are genuinely excited about that. I know that I at least have 6 for sure. I don't know about the rest of the 2,200, but I'm betting that they're also excited for it too. Ultimately, although I can't say that you are going to get all of the followers you want and that all of your dreams will come true, I want to tell you that the dream you have of having people follow you and of showing off your content is a lot more achievable than you think. It is a lot more within your reach than you realize. Although I recognize not everyone can do what I'm doing, not everyone can just immediately start and go, I didn't just immediately start and go. I've been practicing my editing for 6 years. I've been focused on doing all of these things that I didn't even want to do for 4 or more years. I started making videos at 10 and it took me until I was 20 to realize I just want to make the stuff that I want to make. And I think you can too.